Clutch 22 says, I think when people see JoJo and Tony this year, that whole narrative of not be able to land a South Florida wide receiver talent, an elite South Florida wide receiver talent, will quiet down a bit. I was talking to someone yesterday who well, and the Malachi Tony buzz is legit right now in that building, man. I mean, I think we talked about who's going to be the starting slot receiver. Again, I don't know who it's going to be snap one against Notre Dame, but I will double down on my statement from the other day on Malachi Tony based on what I'm hearing, man. This is it's the work ethic on the field, right? Like with the coaches not around right now, but it's the work ethic off the field too, and like the film watching and the details that really matter at that position. So I'm 100% on board with Malachi being a guy this year. I think he's going to end up being one of Miami's, I'll say it right now, one of Miami's top two leading receivers this year.
Yeah, Pete, I agree with you. And that's a bold statement, right? When you think about Trader, CJ Daniels, all those guys, I agree with you. I think you said it. Off the field preparation, which our receiver is very important. And then just kind of like the feel, the instincts on the field, right? Because you can prepare all you want off the field. If you don't see it, you don't see the space, you don't have a feel for all those kind of things, you're not going to have success on the field, and vice versa. He has them both. He has the instincts on the field where when you put him on the field, just kind of knows where to go. If he knows space, he knows angles, he knows how to help his quarterback. He was a quarterback. He was an incredible quarterback when he played in the state championship for American Heritage, just kind of showing his football instincts. And then he does all the stuff off the field. And we've always talked about it. To play as a freshman, the most important thing by far is IQ and attitude. And this guy's got the IQ. He's got the attitude. I agree. I think he will be a big-time player. Before we get into more of these Georgia battles, Pete, I want to ask you, you've been compiling some information this weekend. I know not all of it is fit for podcast, right? Deep background, we call it. But is there anything that you can share, just it could be general or more specific, that you picked up on this weekend as you were doing some digging?
I think there's a lot of confidence about the system that Beck's stepping into compared to what he was dealing with at Georgia, right? And we've alluded to this at times about the drop rate, and people inside Miami's building are definitely aware of that. But outside of the talent around the player, I think there's a belief that Shannon Dawson's system is just going to be a lot more beneficiary to Beck's skill set. And again, he's coming from Georgia where he was 24-3, right? That's kind of the thing that people inside the building continue to say is, look, this is a guy who went 24-3. What are we talking about here in terms of, does he have the ability to take Miami deeper than it went last year, right? So lots of confidence there. I think the receiver room, of course, is inexperienced, but there's belief. There's belief in the talent in that room. CJ Daniels, I think, stepping up as a leader big time, which obviously what he can bring on the field. You go back 2 years ago, as we've talked about at Liberty, showed some amazing things. Some of the catches he was making down the field were very impressive. NFL buzz from that season. And then last year just wasn't healthy, as we've talked about. But I'm talking about talking to people inside the building. He's stepping up as a leader big time there. And then I just said it now, Malachi Tony. I think that was probably the biggest thing I took away from the one of the conversations I had this weekend. Canes Catty, when I said that he could be one of our top two receivers, said that's bold and would be stunning. I think it's a bold prediction. I don't know if it'd be a stunning thing though, man. It's not like you're returning anyone who's put up big numbers last year. And I'm hearing good things about Daniels, but I just think Malachi Tony is going to be a security blanket in a sense for Beck.
Can we call this the work, Pete? Can we call this the return of the work?
I don't think we're going to do that. No.
Oh man. All right. Well, there goes my video idea. But yeah, no, I'm hearing a lot of the same stuff, Pete. I think with Beck, a lot of just good vibes. I think fit is a lot, timing's a lot, experience is a lot. These are things you consider when you talk about how things play out. And I think the fit, when you have playing behind a great offensive line, with a great running game after having neither of those things at Georgia will help. I think the fit being in Florida, a place where he's comfortable, right? This is not, TVD and him often get compared because they're both quiet by nature compared to a Ward. And that's real. I mean, Beck is not going to act like Ward. He's just a different personality. But TVD is from Connecticut. He's almost a fish out of water here in the Southeast, whereas Beck is from Florida. So I think that, and played in Georgia, right, which is a similar type program here in the Southeast. So I think there's a lot more comfort there than you have with someone from just a total different part of the country that kind of keeps to themselves. Now, sometimes people from other parts of the country blend in perfectly. You look at the 80s and 90s, some of the guys we got from Pennsylvania or Ohio, whatever it was. But I think with TVD being more reserved plus being from a different place, that led to him being more isolated, whereas Beck is not as uncomfortable in the South. He's from here. He's from Florida. On top of that, I think the fact that he has that experience, the experience factor is huge in college. We've talked about it a ton. Experience wins games. Experience gets you drafted high. Experience allows you to succeed as a rookie in the NFL. We've gone down this list a million times between Daniels, between Nix, between now Dylan Gabriel, Will Howard, obviously Cam Ward, who started for 5 years. Experience makes a big difference. Beck's experience, just kind of the bounce back factor, right? He's got something to prove. He's not on social media like that. That whole kind of image is not really there, and is not going to be there, I don't think. So just a lot of things falling into place. And you mentioned a very important piece of it, P, which is the system being a much more quarterback friendly system where, yes, he has enough IQ to run that pro style offense of Bobo at Georgia. And in fact, that's one thing he's known for is he can call his protections. He can change the play. He can see things. He spreads the ball. He is a pro style passer in that sense. That doesn't mean he's not going to do better in a quarterback friendly system. Cam Ward was a computer. I mean, Cam Ward's IQ is off the charts, but that doesn't mean in a more quarterback friendly air raid system, he doesn't do damage, right? So I think the pro style intelligence, but the ability to play in a more quarterback friendly system. And then of course you're going against weaker competition. I think all those things together help when it comes to a Carson Beck.
Juan Manuel asking, did I miss something, or Pete has CJ Daniels number 1 and now Malachi Tony to be second leading receiver? Confused, no JoJo Trader. I'm not saying CJ Daniels is wide receiver 1. I think he's stepping up in that, I don't know what the production's going to be. I said this a few weeks ago. I think he has a good chance to be, as long as the health is there. But I've heard he's stepping up as a leader in that room, and guys look to him, right? So he's established himself in that sense. Very important. That room needed it with all the youth. I think JoJo probably is all around your best wide receiver. But my prediction, like I said, and I'm not saying, again, I didn't say CJ Daniels is a receiver 1, but I think your top 3 is probably those 3 in production once we look back on it after the season.
EJ saying TD's from Glastonbury. That's West Palm of Harford County for real. Or here we go. Clutch saying, asked about Josh Moore.
I heard something on him too, and the question is, does he have the best chance of replacing what Zay Horton gave us or CJ? I think for this year probably CJ. Ton of excitement about Josh Moore, but I think more of a flash guy right now. Midpoint of the season, as he continues to show consistency, without a doubt can be someone that is an impactful player for this team and is used situationally. But right now, I think he's someone that'll be more of a rotational player.
And by the way, one thing I would add to all this is we are looking at these receivers based on what they've done in workouts, and then also
without Carson
Beck in spring. So I think now that you have Carson Beck, who when you watch him at Georgia, he spreads the ball around. Obviously, he had elite weapons with Ladd McConkey and Brock Bowers when he had his breakout year in 23. But there was injuries there too, so he didn't always have those guys. And even with those guys, and certainly last year when he had really no good options, he spreads the ball around. He's someone who finds the open receiver and throws it. He's not a one-read kind of quarterback at all. So that's something to keep an eye on.
Stephen Canes, this has the look of a troll comment here. But he says, "Why is it so quiet on Carson Beck starting where it's?" I mean, listen, no one that we're talking to has been quiet about it. They've been very positive, and I mean, I don't think there's much quietness about it. No players are talking to the media right now in the summer. So
yeah, and Steven's not troll. Steven just needs to watch the CanesInSight podcast more. So make sure you're liking and subscribing to the CanesInSight podcast. We're on every single day talking all this stuff, including this weekend, and probably most weekends going forward. There is a lot of buzz on Beck, and Pete just kind of talked about some of it. I've been hearing the ability to throw the ball is catching. I mean, not only is he healthy, but now that people have seen his arm talent, there's significant buzz about his arm talent. There's significant buzz from the coaching staff about what he is capable of in meetings from an IQ standpoint. We talked about him fitting in well. And one thing that I've heard is that he's very, very athletic. Even at one point, he lined up at running back, just kind of messing around. It's workouts, and it was juking guys out. He's much more athletic, I think, than people think. He's not going to be Jalen Milroe or someone like that. But this guy was committed to Florida as a freshman in high school to play third base. He's very twitchy in his lower body, strong legs. He can move. I don't think he's going to be as dynamic outside the pocket as Cam Ward as far as like getting out and then making big plays throwing. Cam Ward just had that unique ability to see the angles like a basketball player. He was a star combo guard. He could really see the field. So I would say the difference between Beck and Ward, aside from their leadership style, is the big playmaking of Ward outside the pocket. But athletically, they're not that much different. I think in the pocket, they're very comparable as well. And I think Beck has a chance to be a really, really good player, as long as we're not comparing him to Ward every step of the journey.
Shout out to my boy Jason Gaitan. He says, in spring practice I attended, Tony is an elite slot wide receiver right now. Trader had an injury but seems like a baller, and Daniels definitely looks the part physically. 100%. This is from someone who was at practice. Shout out to Jason. Shout out to the Grape Ape in South Miami, man. Great spot.
Yeah, shout out to the Grape Ape. So with Tony, it's a slot-friendly offense too, man. I mean, you think of Tank Dell at Houston with Shannon Dawson. You think about Restrepo last year. You're talking about, really, really dominant All-American receivers. So when you have that level of ability, and then you play in a system that's very friendly to slot receivers, you're going to put up big numbers. Which we got a question here from Jalen Benjamin. Is Malachi more like Zay Flowers, South Florida guy, or the Georgia Tech slot receiver from Miami, Malik Rutherford? Which past South Florida receiver would you compare him to? So it's funny you mentioned both those guys. Those are two kind of D-money specials. I've hyped a lot of guys that didn't do anything. Pete knows. But two guys that I did, I kind of flag early as guys I liked were Zay Flowers at University and Malik Rutherford at Champagnat. Just tough, quick guys. They had skill sets, in my opinion, translated to college, their ability to separate quickly and just high instinct players. For Malachi, I am not saying he's going to have this career. So please, when you hear it, don't say this is what the career is going to be, because that's not what I'm saying. However, I do see similarities in Malachi Tony's game with Antonio Brown. Not his dad is named Antonio Della Brown, but I'm talking about the other Antonio Brown, the one that played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the reason I make the comparison is similar size, not big guys. Similar speed, I would say, probably more 4.5-ish type guys. Malachi, not going to be running 4.3 like a Santana Moss. Neither is Antonio Brown. Both win with quickness, instincts, and then incredible work ethics off the field. Now, I don't think Malachi has the same kind of emotional problems that Antonio Brown had over his career. Even early on in his high school career, he had off the field stuff. That's why he kind of went through the journey he went through and didn't go to like a big school. But I do see similar instincts on the field, and they both work really, really hard on their games. Antonio Brown at Miami Norland was a quarterback and before switching to wide receiver punt returner, which is what you see with Malachi Tony. I would say that Antonio Brown, I think, is a little just naturally quicker. I mean, he just had a unique quickness to him. Returning punts to the house in college, I'm not sure Malachi Tony has that level of elite quickness. But I would say Malachi is probably a little stronger at the same age. So,
yeah, and like earlier, Canes Cats Heat, who is big on the reclassification, anti-reclassifying train, talked about how it would be a shocker for Malachi to basically be an impact guy day one because he reclassified. But again, this is a guy who, from what I understand, he went back into his class of his normal age, right? So it's not like these guys who reclassify and they're pretty much like not developed, as much as guys in their age range.
100%. And one thing that I think translates, we talked about it, IQ and instincts. So if he already has the IQ and the instincts and the work ethic, does the age really matter? I mean, the age is more about kind of acclimating, and this guy already has the mental part advanced. So physically, I think he'll be fine for his position. He's not going to be Restrepo, who's 200 pounds, jacked, but different kind of body. Still pretty strong, I think, naturally, but just, Restrepo worked hard on getting strong and was basically a running back by the time he was an All-American. But when it comes to Tony, I think the work ethic and the instincts and stuff like that is going to carry him pretty far as a reclass. And he was a guy that early on at American Heritage was the man. I mean, he was catching game-winning touchdowns as a freshman.
Freshman on ESPN, yeah. Doing interviews on the sideline.
Right. He's like been a guy, right? Local guys have talked about him. So it's not like he's not used to making that kind of early impact.